Welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman. Labor Day weekend. Rutgers football was victorious on Thursday night. I covered it with a rapid reaction. Friday, I came out with an episode with Rutgers fan, Hall of Famer, prominent Barstool Sports senior producer, TJ Hedgins, great Rutgers fan, and to follow on social media. So check that interview out. And over the weekend, I wanted to catch up on some hoops. There was some significant news about Rutgers basketball that came out the last few days. Obviously had a lot of preview episodes for Rutgers football, had a collaboration with the Night Report and Night Watch. So hope you got to see some of that as well. But let's start with Rutgers basketball with the Players Era Festival. Finally got some concrete information on dates, times, and broadcast information. It is taking place on Tuesday, November 26th, Wednesday, November 27th, and Saturday, November 30th in Las Vegas, MGM Grand Arena. And the games are going to broadcast on TBS, TNT, True TV, and streaming on Max. So it's pretty significant. I honestly thought it was going to end up on some random streaming network that no one subscribed to, that everyone was going to have to subscribe to for that weekend. And it's going to be on the networks that, by the way, broadcast the NCAA tournament. So it just shows that this event really is a big time event to be able to have it on. Now, people will complain the tip-off times are late. You're bad. But the thing I've always associated Feast Week with is tip-off times are always kind of weird. You know, you have the Maui event. You have there's a bunch of Feast Week. You have in Anchorage, Alaska. You know, the Great Alaska Shootout. You have so many different random Feast Week events. It's in Vegas. It's on the West Coast. So Rutgers is going to have some late tips, but they're going to be playing they're going to have some great opportunities on the court. Tuesday, the 26th, they're going to play Notre Dame. Tip off 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Wednesday, November 27th, they play Alabama at 10 p.m. Eastern. Again, it hasn't been exactly TBS, TNT, True TV. Pretty cool. And then on Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, they play Houston. So that is obviously a huge 3-game stretch for this team. Now they also play at Kennesaw State on Sunday afternoon. I believe it's 2 p.m. Before they head to Vegas. And that is less than ideal. That is 4 games in 7 days, excuse me. And it's 3 and 4 days all the way from the rack. Now, I believe when the Players Era Festival was first announced, there was an understanding it was going to be Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, not Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. So I don't think when Rutgers booked Kennesaw State, they necessarily thought it was going to just be a little bit over a 48-hour break. I think they thought it was going to be 3 days, but it's 2. But you know what? It's a great test for this team early, late November, early in the season. If this team wants to go places in March, this is a great kind of dry run because you're going to be playing March talent. You're going to be playing Final Four talent. 2 teams that could very well be in the Final Four in San Antonio at the end of March, early April, in Houston and Alabama. Obviously, lots of storylines there. Houston, with that game, we'll all take to the grave. Rutgers losing in the round of 32 a few years ago after having that lead late. Obviously, Alabama, the matchup with Cliff. And then Notre Dame, the team that last knocked Rutgers out of the NCAA tournament. You're going to have the Matalaco, Zach Martini reunion, and Micah Shrewsbury. Last time Rutgers played Penn State when Shrewsbury was there was when they had that, where they done 18, 19 points in Happy Valley and won. So there's a lot of compelling matchups there. Notre Dame is going to shoot the heck out of it this year. Rutgers should and needs to win that game. And I like that they play Notre Dame first before they go and play Alabama and Houston. But that's going to be a very difficult stretch. But that's exciting. And I think the fact that it's going to be on the networks it's on gives more legitimacy to it. I know there's been some articles out about, you know, the NCAA having problems with it, the MTA getting around the workaround with paying NIL and also, you know, not having multiple teams in the same conference and them kind of splitting it into 2 MTEs. Multi-team event is what that stands for, and that It's technically not a tournament because you can't play an 18 bracket with multiple teams from the same conferences. Big Ten, Oregon's there as well. SEC is 2 teams. So John Feinstein wrote an article for the Washington Post this week. Of course, he had to take a little dig at Rutgers, saying it was essentially saying, believe it or not, Rutgers is a Big Ten team. I mean, haha. Thanks a lot, John Feinstein. Season on the brink. He's a little salty because maybe he's Indiana partial over these years. So who can blame him? But at any rate, it's going to happen. And they're working out the kinks. And this was kind of the first official announcement. It was reported by Matt Norlander, who's been all over this event. But this is it's huge for the program. It's huge from an NIL perspective. It's huge from a showcase perspective. It's huge from a strength of schedule perspective. It's huge from an opportunity and learning experience perspective. And it's huge for fans. It's going to be an awesome week, whether you have to stay up late or whether you're going to Vegas to be there, whatever. Rutgers football is going to have again. That's going to be a crazy week. There's going to be a lot of late nights as Rutgers fans with football, with basketball, but it's what we live for. Don't complain. Cherish the opportunity. As the great George Harrison sings, all things must pass. And this season, this year, is going to be gone before we know it. So embrace every moment. In terms of some more scheduling news, John Rothstein, I think he was the first to come out with the report. The Rutgers and St. John's are linking up for an exhibition game for charity before the season starts for second year in a row. Last year was at St. John's. It was a very entertaining game that Rutgers lost in overtime. I think it was double overtime. And this game, the understanding is it should be at the rack. It's not 100% announced. It was not announced by either program, so it's not official yet. But obviously, it's looking pretty good, and that's a great test before the season and should be a lot of fun. Hopefully, there's some better broadcasting information for this year. Last year, it wasn't on TV or streamed, but hopefully this year it can be, and that can tie into charity. Maybe, who knows? But obviously, if it's at the rack, you're going to want to be there, and it's a great test for this team. And St. John's, reloaded. So that should be very entertaining, and it's for a great cause. No word yet on what the actual charity or specific charity will be yet, but we're getting close. Rutgers basketball announced this week will be broadcast on WFAN for the season. Jerry Recco, who works on the Boomer and Geo show, was guest hosting and had Steve Pikiell and Dylan Harper on. It was about a 30-minute interview. If you haven't seen it on YouTube or anywhere, it's a great interview. And Pikiell, he just seems relaxed and excited. Dylan Harper, I tweeted after there was a clip of him posted. He kind of runs through every player on the roster. He's really likable. I can't stress this enough. He really is. And, there'll be a podcast coming out on early next week called Feed the Post with Joe Jackson. He does a great job in terms of he does a lot of video breakdowns for the Big Ten, and he had me on to help preview Rutgers, and just talking about the thing about Dylan Harper that makes him unique in this moment is his actual ties to Rutgers and his understanding of what this means for the program, for his own kind of legacy, for the state, for everybody involved. And I think that is going to really help this team stay focused. It's going to drive him. It's going to push him. Not that he's not already supremely motivated to elevate his game the way he has over the last few years and his ceiling as a player, both at the college level and the NBA level. But that is really what I'm super excited about for him, because you could see he is cherishing this opportunity. And he sounded really well on this interview and grateful for the opportunity. And I think that there is real value to that, as it's not like Rutgers just brought in mercenaries that are, the most talented players. I mean, there are it's relationship ties. They got these guys not because they have the highest NIL, not because they're the biggest and best programs, because they have real relationships, and Pikiell and the coaching staff take care of their players, and they have a rep in a very positive way. And obviously the success that they have with Ron Harper, Jr., Gio, Caleb, that resonates. with someone like Dylan, and obviously Ace being there with Dylan. Football is now underway. Basketball preseason about a month away in terms of practice. It's going to be here before you know it. And a lot of more preseason stuff's going to come out. But check out that interview. I just thought Pikiell, his answers, Dylan Harper, everyone understands the moment, but everyone seems very comfortable. There is there's a lightness around this program that has desperately been missing over the last couple of years. Things got heavy. Expectations are part of that, right? And there are even higher expectations this year, but it's different, and I always talked about this in the past about how, those guys that elevated the program and Pikiell, obviously, but in terms of Ron, Gio, Caleb, Miles Johnson, Jacob Young, Cliff, the longer they were around and the more that the program got elevated, I felt like things got heavier. The pressure kind of mounted. They'd been through the shit, so to speak. Sorry, I couldn't come up with anything more eloquent in this moment. I'm fried. Content all over the place this week. But, getting through all of what they had to get through and to climb that mountain that they did to make Rutgers successful and relevant after years and years and years of not very good basketball, scandals, all that. When they made the NCAA tournament for the first time, everybody talked about the weight on their shoulders and, having such a burden, 3 decades worth to get the program. So there's a certain heaviness that comes with that. That's hard to shake. And then, the injuries, disappointment, it just made everybody tighter. That's how I viewed it, including Pikiell. And now you have this youth infusion, this talent infusion. You have these wily veterans that are all coming from different backgrounds. And yeah, it could be a mishmash that doesn't gel, doesn't mesh, a mishmash that doesn't mesh. But it could be, a beautiful recipe that comes together with all different types of flavors that just works, because it does. So we'll see. It's going to be a roller coaster. Hopefully more ups than downs. And just, it's going to be super exciting. The rack is going to rock like it hasn't. I mean, it's rocked really hard. I just think if they get cooking and Ace and Dylan and just the shooters on this team, and things will be really fun. And we have to appreciate it. We have to appreciate it. So let's talk about it now. Let's talk about it in the moment. It's going to be here before we know it. It's going to go fast. But hearing Dylan and Coach Pikiell on WFAN with Jerry Recco, it's exciting. They're going to be on WFAN. I know it already irked St. John's fans that Rutgers is going to be on WFAN. I feel bad for Syracuse fans who always talked about the 6th borough. Or is that UConn fans? I don't know. Whoever does that is stupid. But I think, no, Syracuse does New York City's team. Well, Rutgers is broadcast on WFAN now, not Syracuse. Certainly irks some St. John's people, which, hey, you know what? That's fun too. And this is going to be a year to remember. But I really love the dynamic that is in the program right now. And I think that lightness and that confidence, there is real confidence with these players. And I can't wait for them to get the chance to go to work once preseason starts. And we'll have plenty of coverage when it does. The Big Ten is really, I think, going to be up for grabs this year. There's no team in the Big Ten that I think is head and shoulders above anybody else. Purdue and Indiana, obviously very talented teams. Illinois, once again. But there's real opportunity there. So we're going to get started with that soon. Football is now underway. And Akron coming up. What I'm going to do, my next episode will be a recap of the week that was week 1 with the Big Ten. And I'll start to do that probably Sunday night, maybe Monday morning. We'll see in terms of recapping the week that was, preview the week ahead, look at kind of how the conference is looking, look at how Rutgers opponents are looking. So I'll have that come out starting this weekend. I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend with your friends, with your family, because rest up and there's a lot to look forward to. So we'll have that football pod out soon. And then after that, I'm going to do a whole thing on the AD search. And I'll talk about some things that came out this week with Ryan Passari at the KTR event. Some positive words from Steve Pikiell, Scott Goodell, and an article by Jerry Carino. Just kind of the dynamic of this search, where I think Rutgers should look, all the options they should consider. We'll talk a little bit about Pat Hobbs and his legacy, and obviously the report that came out this past week about the gymnastics program. There's a lot to discuss. There's been a lot going on, but I want to get to it, and I will have something come out, but obviously I wanted to put some thought into it also. So thank you for listening to this Hoops podcast. We'll have more hoops coming. We'll have the Big Ten in review. We'll have the AD episode coming up. Things are rolling here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast. Be a part of it. Thank you for your support. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Have a great holiday weekend. Talk to you soon here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.